The big ships came without warning in Earth's skies one sunny morning. They looked like huge dark circles hanging over all major cities. People stopped and stared with fear as these strange objects blocked the sun. Jin, a young scientist who studied tiny particles, was working in his lab when it happened. He looked up from his work and saw the giant ship through his window. It was a perfect black circle that covered part of the sky over Seoul. Students ran out of buildings, pointing up and shouting. Jin's phone made a sound. His sister Sue, who worked for the army, sent him a message. They are talking on all TV and radio channels. Turn on your screen now. Jin turned on his screen. The message from the aliens was clear and in perfect Korean. We are the Karu. All your resources now belong to us. Fighting back is useless. You are too small to matter to us. Within just one day, the Karu sent down floating machines. These machines started taking minerals from the ground, water from oceans, and even gases from the air. The aliens did not try to talk or make deals with humans. When armies tried to fight the machines, the aliens turned whole groups of soldiers into dust. Jin watched the news with fear growing inside him. The Han River in Seoul was being emptied of its minerals. People found it harder to breathe as the machines took elements from the air. What scared Jin most was how the Karu did not care about humans at all, like we were just bugs to them. They think we are too small to matter, Jin said softly as he looked at the alien ships through his small telescope. He started writing numbers and ideas in his notebook, thinking hard. But sometimes the smallest things can be the most dangerous. His phone rang. It was Sue. Jin, the army is calling all scientists together. We need your knowledge. Can you meet me at the secret room under Namsan Tower? Jin packed his notes and tools quickly. Before leaving his lab, he looked once more at the alien ship floating silently above the city. You made a big mistake, he said quietly. You forgot that even the tiniest bits of matter can break apart worlds. 3 weeks after the invasion, Han found himself in a repurposed mine shaft 200 meters beneath Namsan Mountain. The government had converted it into a scientific research facility, one of dozens hidden across the country. Here, out of sight of the Karu scanning technology, humanity planned its resistance. Han entered the main chamber where Joe was waiting with Min, the defense minister, and Dr. Sun, a renowned nuclear physicist. Gathered around them were 30 of Korea's top scientists. The Karu have established extraction facilities on every continent, Min explained, pointing to a digital map. Red dots marked alien installations across the globe. They're stripping our planet of resources. At their current rate, Earth will be uninhabitable within 2 years. What about military options? Someone asked. Jia shook her head. Conventional weapons are useless against their shields. Nuclear strikes were attempted by 3 countries. The missiles were neutralized mid-flight. So we're helpless. A biologist named Da asked, his voice cracking. No, Han said, stepping forward. All eyes turned to him. We're not helpless. We're just thinking too conventionally. He plugged his tablet into the projector. I've been analyzing the Karu technology. Their shields block macro-scale attacks, bullets, missiles, even energy weapons. But they show vulnerability at the quantum level. Han displayed his findings, detailed scans of a damaged Karu drone recovered from the Yellow Sea. Their technology is advanced, but follows predictable rules. They've optimized their defenses against threats they consider significant, things their size or bigger. But they've ignored smaller scales. Dr. Sun nodded slowly. You're suggesting quantum-scale warfare. Exactly, Han replied. They called us too small to matter. Let's show them how dangerous the small can be. Jia looked skeptical. How do we weaponize quantum physics against an advanced alien species? Han smiled. We've been developing quantum entanglement technology for years. What if we could create entangled particles that bypass their shields entirely? Particles that could disrupt their systems from within. Dr. Sun's eyes widened. Quantum infiltration. It's theoretical, but She began scribbling equations. We'd need more data on their technology, Han admitted. We need to capture one of their machines intact. Min looked grave. That won't be easy, but we have special forces teams standing by. Day, the biologist, raised his hand. Wait, I have another idea. The Karoo are ignoring us as individuals. They're only concerned with organized military resistance. What if we use that to our advantage? Small teams could get close to their machines if they don't appear threatening. A plan began to form. They would need to gather intelligence, capture Karoo technology, and develop weapons that the aliens couldn't comprehend. Weapons that operated on principles too small for them to detect. As the meeting adjourned, Han found himself standing next to Jia. "Do you think this can work?" she asked quietly. Han looked at the determined faces around him. They think size equals power. That's their mistake. Sometimes the smallest particle can split the largest atom. Dawn broke over the East Sea as Han, Jia, and a team of 6 soldiers crouched behind abandoned shipping containers at Busan port. Before them stood a Karoo extraction unit, a 20-meter-tall machine that resembled a mechanical squid, its metallic tentacles drilling into the seabed. "Security scan complete," whispered Ta, their tech specialist. 2 Karoo drones patrolling, but they're on a predictable cycle. We have a 4-minute window. Han checked his equipment one last time. The quantum resonance detector he built was untested against Karoo technology, but it was their best hope for understanding the alien machines. Jia gave the signal, and they moved. Years of military training made her steps silent as they approached the extraction unit. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the machine's tentacles pulled minerals from the earth. 30 seconds until the next drone patrol, Ta warned through their comms. Han placed sensor nodes around the base of the machine while Jia and 2 soldiers secured the perimeter. The quantum detector began collecting data, its screen filling with complex patterns. "Fascinating," Han whispered. "Their technology operates on polyphasic quantum states. I've never seen anything like it." 20 seconds, Ta warned. Han worked faster, attaching a small device to the machine's main support column. "This transmitter will continue sending data back to our lab. We're almost." A shadow passed overhead. One of the drones had changed its patrol pattern. "Get down," Jia hissed, pulling Han behind a ridge of metal. The drone hovered directly above them, its scanning beam sweeping the area. Han's heart pounded as the beam passed within centimeters of his foot. For a moment, it seemed they would remain undetected. Then the drone emitted a piercing sound and descended toward them. "Run," Jia shouted, drawing her weapon, a modified electromagnetic pulse gun. She fired at the drone, but the pulse dissipated against its shields. The drone released smaller flying objects the size of hummingbirds that darted toward them with alarming speed. Han reached into his pocket and activated the prototype he'd been working on, a quantum disruptor tuned to the specific frequency he'd theorized the Karoo technology used. The device emitted no visible energy, no sound. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the small drones froze midair and dropped to the ground. The larger drone wobbled, its lights flickering. "It worked," Han exclaimed. The larger drone crashed to the ground, its systems failing. The team quickly moved in, securing the alien technology with insulated containers. "We need to move," Jia urged. "More will come to investigate." As they retreated with their prize, Han looked back at the disabled extraction unit. Its tentacles had stopped moving, the lights along its body dark. Their first victory was small but significant. They had proven the Karoo were vulnerable. Back at the bunker, scientists gathered around the captured drone, carefully disassembling it. The quantum disruptor worked better than expected, Han explained to the assembled team. Their technology relies on quantum coherence. Disrupt that coherence, and their systems fail. "Can we scale this up?" Min asked. "Create weapons that could disable their ships." "Not yet," Han cautioned. This was a small drone. Their larger systems will have redundancies, but this gives us a starting point. Dr. Sun held up a component from the drone. a crystalline structure that glowed with internal light. This is unlike any material I've seen. It's storing and processing information at the subatomic level. They're using quantum computing on a scale we've only theorized. Han agreed. But now we have a sample to study. Word of their success spread through the resistance network. Small victories were reported from other continents. Captured technology, disabled extraction units. The Karoo showed no sign of concern. To them, these were minor inconveniences, not worthy of serious response. Their mistake would be their undoing. 2 months into the occupation, Earth's resources were being steadily drained. The skies had taken on a perpetual rusty hue as the atmosphere thinned. Oceans receded as the Karoo extracted water molecules for their hydrogen content. Humanity retreated underground or into remote areas, organizing into resistance cells. In the laboratory beneath Namsen, Han hadn't slept in 3 days. The captured Karoo technology had yielded incredible insights. The drone's processing core used quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across vast distances, technology humans had only begun to understand. Han, you need to rest, Jia said, placing a cup of coffee beside him. He shook his head, eyes never leaving the holographic model rotating above his workstation. I'm close to something. The Karoo quantum network has a specific resonance pattern. If we could replicate it. He trailed off, making another adjustment to his equations. Dr. Sun entered the lab, her face showing rare excitement. Han, we've completed the analysis of the crystalline material. It's not just a computer, it's a quantum key. Han's fingers froze over his keyboard. A key. To what? To their entire network, Dr. Sun explained. Every piece of Karoo technology is quantum entangled with their central systems. These crystals are nodes in a vast, interconnected web. Change one node, and you affect them all. Han finished, understanding dawning. He jumped up, energy renewed despite his exhaustion. We could use their own network against them. They gathered the research team. Using the captured crystal as a template, they began constructing a quantum transmitter that could interface with the Karoo network. The work was painstaking. Each subatomic connection had to be precisely aligned. While the scientists worked, Jia coordinated with resistance cells worldwide. Teams were assembled to capture more Karoo technology, building a stockpile of the crucial crystals. One evening, as Han was calibrating the transmitter, Dad the biologist burst into the lab. I found something, he exclaimed, setting up his own equipment. The Karoo aren't just taking physical resources, they're harvesting information. He displayed readings from monitoring stations. They're scanning all human digital storage, absorbing our accumulated knowledge. Scientific data, cultural archives, everything. Why would they care about our information? Jia asked. Resources come in many forms, Han replied thoughtfully. Knowledge is perhaps the most valuable. They're strip mining our intellectual achievements while dismantling our physical world. This revelation gave Han an idea. What if we use that against them? Feed them information that appears valuable but contains hidden code. A quantum virus. The plan crystallized rapidly. They would create a quantum algorithm disguised as valuable scientific data. When absorbed into the Karoo network, it would propagate through their quantum-entangled systems, causing cascading failures. It's like a Trojan horse, Han explained to Min during their progress report, but operating at the quantum level. Min looked skeptical. How do we deliver this virus? We can't just email it to them. We make them take it, Han replied. We'll place it in research facilities they're actively harvesting from. Make it look like breakthrough technology they won't be able to resist. As the quantum virus took shape, Han worked with Dodd to perfect its delivery mechanism. The virus would be embedded in actual scientific breakthroughs, advancements in fusion technology, theoretical physics, and biochemistry. The key is making the data valuable enough that they'll prioritize its absorption, Han explained. When the virus was complete, Han held the quantum core in his palm, a crystal no larger than a rice grain, containing code that could bring down an alien empire. We should test it first, Dr. Sun cautioned. On a smaller scale. Han nodded. There's a minor extraction unit in Gangnam. We'll target that first. The test was scheduled for dawn. As Han prepared the delivery system, he gazed at the tiny crystal. They thought we were too small to matter, he murmured. They're about to learn that the smallest things can bring down giants. The test operation in Gangnam exceeded all expectations. When the quantum virus was uploaded to the local Karu network through their information harvesting systems, the results were immediate and dramatic. The extraction unit didn't just shut down. It collapsed in on itself as its quantum coherence dissolved. It's working better than we theorized, Han explained to the military council. The virus doesn't just disrupt their systems. It causes entanglement cascade failure. Each affected node becomes a vector, spreading the disruption exponentially. Min leaned forward over the holographic display. How soon can we scale this to a global operation? 2 weeks, Han replied. We need to manufacture enough quantum transmitters and position them at key locations worldwide. Operation Sunburst, as it was codenamed, would be humanity's first coordinated global counterattack. Resistance cells on every continent prepared delivery systems, while scientists replicated the quantum virus. As preparations continued, the Karu intensified their extraction efforts. It seemed they were aware that something was changing, though they still showed no direct interest in human resistance activities. 1 week before Sunburst was scheduled to launch, Jia received troubling intelligence. The Karu are accelerating their timetable, she reported during an emergency meeting. They're shifting to more aggressive extraction. At this rate, they'll render Earth uninhabitable within months, not years. We need to move faster, Min insisted. Han shook his head. The virus needs precise calibration. Rush it, and we risk failure. A compromise was reached. They would launch a limited version of Sunburst in 3 days, targeting key Karu installation points while continuing to prepare the full-scale attack. The night before the operation, Han found Jia on the surface, something few risked anymore. They stood in the ruins of a park, looking up at the Karu mothership hovering over Seoul. Do you ever wonder why they're doing this? Jia asked quietly. What do they need all these resources for? Han considered the question. I've analyzed their extraction patterns. They're taking specific elements in precise ratios. Whatever they're building, it's incredibly complex. Maybe their civilization is dying. Maybe they're building weapons for some larger conflict we know nothing about. Does it matter? Jia asked. I suppose not, Han admitted. Whatever their reasons, they decided we weren't worth considering. That was their mistake. The next day, resistance teams moved into position around the globe. The operation had to be precisely coordinated. All transmitters activated simultaneously to maximize the cascade effect. Han, Jia, and their team were positioned in an abandoned subway station beneath what had once been Seoul's financial district. Above them, a massive Karu processing hub sorted the resources extracted from the Korean peninsula. All teams report ready, Tae announced, monitoring communications. Han checked the quantum transmitter one last time. The device was deceptively simple, a small box containing the crystal virus connected to a power source. Sunburst commences in 30 seconds. Min's voice came through their secure channel. Han took a deep breath, looking at the faces around him. Scientists, soldiers, ordinary citizens who had joined the resistance, all fighting for humanity's survival. 10 seconds. Tae counted down. Han activated the transmitter. A soft blue light pulsed from the crystal, though the actual transmission was invisible, propagating through quantum states. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling of the subway station. Surface team reports visible effects, Tae announced. The processing hub is experiencing power fluctuations. They ascended to a vantage point with a view of the Karu facility. The massive structure was shuddering, its normally smooth exterior rippling like liquid. Lights flickered across its surface. Similar reports came in from around the world. Karoo installations were failing, their quantum networks corrupted by the virus. Then came an unexpected development. The motherships, which had remained stationary since their arrival, began to move. They positioned themselves directly over major extraction points, extending massive energy beams. They're trying to stabilize their systems, Han realized, providing direct quantum support from the motherships. This was something they hadn't anticipated. The virus was affecting the extraction units, but the motherships were intervening, providing clean quantum signals to counteract the corruption. "It's not working as well as we hoped," Han admitted as they regrouped in the bunker. The operation had caused significant damage to Karoo infrastructure, but the motherships had prevented total collapse. "But we've hurt them," Jia pointed out. "For the first time, they've been forced to respond to us. They no longer think we're too small to matter." Han nodded, already refining his calculations. "And now we know their weakness. The motherships are the key. They contain the primary nodes of their quantum network." "Can we target the motherships directly?" Min asked. "Not yet," Han replied. "But we will. They've shown us their vulnerability. Now we adapt." Operation Sunburst wasn't the decisive victory they'd hoped for, but it marked a turning point. Humanity was no longer simply surviving. It was fighting back. The Karoo response to Operation Sunburst was swift and unexpected. Rather than increasing their defenses, they seemed to ignore the attack entirely, continuing their extraction operations without pause. But Han noticed subtle changes in their behavior. They'd isolated their quantum network, he explained, analyzing data from monitoring stations worldwide. They're compartmentalizing their systems to prevent another cascade failure. More concerning was their increased rate of extraction. Critical resources were being harvested at triple the previous rate. Oceans receded visibly each day. The atmosphere thinned further, forcing more humans underground. "They're rushing to complete whatever they came here for," Dr. Sun concluded, "before we can stop them." 3 days after Sunburst, the Resistance detected a new development. The Karoo were deploying smaller ships, systematically scanning population centers. "They're looking for us now," Jia reported, "specifically targeting scientific facilities. They've realized we're a threat." Their underground bunker remained secure for now, shielded by experimental quantum camouflage. But it was only a matter of time before the Karoo found them. Han worked feverishly on a new approach. The partial success of Sunburst had provided valuable data on the Karoo quantum network. He now understood that the motherships contained the primary nodes, the hearts of their system. "We need to get inside one of their ships," he announced during a strategy meeting. The room fell silent. "That's impossible," Min said finally. "Their security is impenetrable." "Not from the outside," Han agreed. "But what about from the inside? What if we let them take their prize?" His plan was audacious. They would allow the Karoo to capture a research facility, one containing apparent breakthroughs in quantum technology. The facility would house an advanced version of the virus, designed to remain dormant until reaching a mothership's primary node. "It's a suicide mission," Jia argued. "Whoever goes won't come back." "I'll go," Han said simply. The argument that followed was heated. Han was too valuable to lose. Others volunteered in his place. "The virus needs constant adjustment as it's transported," Han explained. "Only someone intimately familiar with the code can ensure it remains undetected. It has to be me." In the end, a compromise was reached. Han would go, but with a small team: Jia, Tai, and 2 specialists named Rin and Ki. All volunteered knowing it was likely a one-way journey. They established a decoy lab in the ruins of a university, filling it with convincing equipment and actual quantum research, enough to make it appear a significant find. Then they waited. It took 3 days for the Karoo to detect the facility. A scout ship appeared overhead, scanning the building thoroughly before deploying collection drones. Han activated the passive quantum signature they'd prepared, a beacon that mimicked breakthrough technology. The drones swarmed the lab, collecting equipment and data. "Get ready," Han whispered to his team. They had built themselves into the lab equipment, special containers designed to be harvested along with the technology. The sensation of being lifted by the Karoo drone was disorienting. Han felt his container being loaded onto the scout ship, then transferred to a larger vessel. Through a tiny viewport, he caught glimpses of the alien technology, complex, beautiful, and utterly foreign. Hours passed as they were transported higher into the atmosphere. Han maintained neural contact with the quantum virus through a specialized interface, constantly adjusting its code to remain undetected by Karoo systems. Finally, they'd reached their destination, the mothership hovering over what had once been Beijing. The scale of the vessel was breathtaking. From inside, Han could see that the ship was less a solid object and more a complex network of interconnected quantum states given physical form. "We're being moved to a central processing area," Ta whispered through their secure comm. "Security is minimal. They still don't consider us a significant threat." That would be their advantage. The team waited until their containers were placed in a sorting chamber, then carefully extracted themselves. The Karoo environment was breathable but strange. The air felt thick and vibrated with subtle energies. "The primary node should be at the center of the ship," Han said, consulting the quantum detector he brought. "We need to move quickly." As they navigated the alien corridors, they encountered few Karoo. The aliens themselves were surprising. Neither the towering monsters nor the small gray beings of human fiction. They resembled tall, thin humanoids with iridescent skin that shifted colors as they moved. They paid little attention to the human intruders, apparently mistaking them for some kind of automated system. "They really don't see us as significant," Ja whispered, "even now." They reached a vast chamber at the ship's heart. Suspended in the center was a crystalline structure larger than a house, pulsing with inner light. Countless data streams flowing through its lattice. "The primary node," Han breathed. "It's beautiful." He removed the quantum virus core from its protective case. The small crystal seemed tiny and insignificant compared to the massive alien node. "How do we connect it?" Ki asked. "We don't need to physically connect," Han explained. "Quantum entanglement works across space. We just need proximity." He activated the virus. The crystal glowed blue, then purple, then a color Han had no name for, a shade beyond human visual perception. The effect was immediate. The massive Karoo node flickered, its perfect rhythm disrupted. Alarm sounds echoed through the chamber as the ship's systems detected the intrusion. "They're trying to isolate the corruption," Han said, watching the node's response. "But it's too late. The virus is already propagating through their network." The ship shuddered violently. Gravity shifted, sending them tumbling against a wall. "We need to get to an escape pod," Jia shouted over the increasingly loud alarms. "There." Ta pointed to a row of small vessels attached to the chamber wall. They raced toward the pods as the ship's systems deteriorated around them. Karoo rushed past them, now fully aware of the human presence, but too focused on sagging their ship to stop them. As they reached the pods, Han hesitated. The virus needs more time. Someone needs to stay and ensure it completes the cascade. Han. "No," Jia began. "Get to the pod," he interrupted. "I'll be right behind you." It was a lie, and they both knew it, but there was no time to argue. The others boarded the pod while Han returned to the node chamber. The virus was working, but the Karoo were implementing countermeasures. Han made final adjustments, ensuring the cascade would continue. The ship lurched again, more violently this time. Through the chamber's viewport, Han could see other motherships in the distance. One was already showing signs of the virus's spread, its perfect surface rippling with disruption. "Too small to matter," Han said to himself, watching the cascade grow. "That's what you thought." He felt a strange peace as the ship began to break apart around him. The quantum cascade was irreversible now. The Karoo fleet would fall, their technology turned against them at the most fundamental level. Han's last thought before the chamber collapsed was of atoms, the tiny building blocks that made up all matter in the universe. Too small to see, yet containing the power to destroy worlds. Jia watched from the escape pod as the mothership tore itself apart. The quantum cascade had triggered a chain reaction throughout the vessel, disrupting the forces holding it together. Han had succeeded, but at the ultimate cost. Tears streamed down her face as the pod accelerated away from the disintegrating ship. Beside her, Tai worked the alien controls, guiding them toward Earth. Multiple cascade failures detected, Ren reported, monitoring the quantum scanner. It's spreading through their entire fleet. Across the sky, motherships were experiencing system failures. Some drifted aimlessly, their propulsion systems offline. Others twisted into impossible shapes as their quantum cohesion dissolved. The pod's communication system crackled with voices from resistance cells worldwide. Reports flooded in. Karoo extraction units shutting down, scout ships falling from the sky, the massive drain on Earth's resources finally halting. Han did it, Qi whispered. He really did it. Their celebration was cut short as their pod shuddered violently. The cascade effect was spreading faster than anticipated, affecting even smaller Karoo vessels, including their escape pod. We're losing control, Tai announced, fighting with the unresponsive system. Brace for impact. The pod streaked through the atmosphere, superheating as it descended toward the Korean peninsula. The last thing Jia remembered before losing consciousness was the sight of the ocean rushing up to meet them. She awoke to the sound of waves. The pod had crashed into the Yellow Sea, floating half-submerged near the coastline. Rin was injured but alive. Qi hadn't survived the impact. Tide was desperately trying to signal for help using salvaged equipment. It took 3 days for a resistance vessel to find them. By then, the world had changed. The Karoo fleet was in ruins, their technology failing across the globe. Without centralized control, their extraction units had shut down. Some continued operating on auxiliary systems, but these were easily disabled by resistance forces. The most dramatic change was in the Karoo themselves. Cut off from their quantum network, the aliens seemed disoriented and confused. Some committed suicide through methods humans couldn't comprehend. Others simply stopped moving, as if their purpose had vanished with their connection. A month after what became known as the Quantum Fall, Jia stood on a hilltop overlooking the recovering Seoul. The atmosphere was still thin, the oceans still depleted, but Earth was healing. The remaining Karoo had been contained in designated zones while humanity decided their fate. Dr. Sun approached, carrying a data tablet. "We've decrypted more of their communications," she said. "We finally know why they came." The Karoo, it turned out, were resource gatherers for a much larger civilization, one that spanned multiple galaxies. Earth had been cataloged centuries ago as an insignificant resource deposit, with non-sentient biological contamination. The Karoo were simply following standard extraction protocols, not even considering humans worth communicating with. "They really did think we were too small to matter," Jia said bitterly. "And that was their downfall," Dr. Sun replied. "They couldn't conceive that beings they considered insignificant could understand quantum mechanics, let alone weaponize it against them." She handed Jia the tablet. "There's more. The quantum virus didn't just affect their fleet here. Because their network spans galaxies, the cascade has spread. Their entire civilization is experiencing failures." Jia stared at the data in shock. "We didn't just defeat an invasion force. We brought down an empire. Han always said the smallest things can be the most dangerous." Dr. Sun said softly. He was right. In the months that followed, humanity began the long process of rebuilding. The captured Karoo technology accelerated Earth's recovery and opened new technological frontiers. The quantum principles that had brought down the alien fleet became the foundation for a new era of human advancement. Memorial services were held worldwide for those lost in the resistance. Han's was attended by thousands. Though his body was never recovered, his legacy lived on in the quantum institutes established in his name. The remaining Karu, disconnected from their network and stranded on Earth, gradually began to communicate with humans. Without their quantum hive mind, they developed individual personalities, some even expressing remorse for what they had done. They never saw us as equals, Giat explained during a United Nations address. They categorized us as insignificant based on our technological development, but they failed to account for our determination, our creativity, and our understanding of the fundamental forces of reality. She paused, looking out at the assembled representatives of humanity. Their empire spanned galaxies, while we had barely reached our own moon. Yet in the end, it was our understanding of the smallest particles in the universe that brought them down. They said we were too small to matter. They choked on the atoms of our vengeance. 5 years after the quantum fall, Earth was transformed. Cities rose from ruins, incorporating salvaged Karu technology. The atmosphere had been partially restored through advanced filtration systems. Massive oceanic regeneration projects had begun to replenish the waters. Jia, now director of the Global Defense Initiative, stood on the observation deck of Orbital Station Han, a research facility constructed in low Earth orbit using repurposed parts from Karu vessels. Below her, the planet showed signs of recovery. The angry red scars of extraction slowly healing, replaced by green as nature reclaimed devastated areas. Director Jia, her assistant Mun, called. "The Council is ready for your report." The council chamber contained representatives from every nation, gathered to hear the latest findings on the Karu threat. Jia took her place at the podium, activating the holographic display. "As you know, we've been monitoring quantum fluctuations across our solar system since the invasion," she began. 3 days ago, our deep space arrays detected abnormal readings at the edge of the heliosphere. The display showed a visualization of the disturbance, a rippling pattern in the quantum field surrounding the solar system. "We believe this is a response to the cascade failure we initiated 5 years ago," Jia continued. "The Karu were part of a larger network that spanned multiple systems. That network is now probing our defenses." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Earth had enjoyed 5 years of peace, rebuilding from the devastation. The thought of another threat was troubling. "Are you suggesting another invasion?" asked the representative from the African Union. "Not imminently," Jia replied, "but we should prepare for the possibility." The quantum cascade that destroyed the Karu fleet sent ripples through their entire civilization. They now know we're not the insignificant species they thought we were. Dr. Sun, now elderly but still sharp, rose from her seat. "We've continued studying the Karu technology and the quantum principles behind it. We're not defenseless. In fact, we're better positioned than ever to protect ourselves." This was true. The desperate innovation of the resistance had blossomed into unprecedented technological advancement. Quantum computing, once theoretical, was now commonplace. Energy production had been revolutionized. Medicine had advanced decades in just 5 years. "There's something else," Jia added. "Something we haven't shared publicly." She activated a secure channel on the holographic display. The image that appeared was startling. A recording from deep space probes showing the remains of a massive structure at the edge of the solar system. "This was hidden on the far side of Pluto," Jia explained. "A Karu quantum relay station, established centuries ago to monitor our system. It was damaged in the cascade, but we've managed to extract data from its memory core." The information revealed a disturbing truth. Earth wasn't randomly selected for resource extraction. The Karu had been observing humanity for centuries, waiting until they had advanced enough to create valuable intellectual resources, but not enough to pose a significant threat. "They were farming us," Dr. Sun said bluntly, "letting our civilization develop to a certain point before harvesting both our physical and intellectual resources, like growing a crop to maturity." The revelation was chilling, but it came with an opportunity. The relay station contained star maps and coordinates for other Karu operations throughout the galaxy. "We're no longer confined to our planet," Jaya said. "Using adapted Karu technology, we've developed prototype ships capable of interstellar travel. We can take the fight to them if necessary." The proposal was controversial. Some argued that humanity should focus on rebuilding Earth. Others believed a proactive approach was needed, establishing human colonies on other worlds and